Ethan Hayes was a man of immense wealth and power, but as he sat in the hospital waiting room, his heart felt heavier than ever. His wife, CLA, lay in a coma, and the sterile walls around him felt like a prison. The doctor had just delivered yet another disheartening update, leaving him feeling utterly helpless. But then, a small, scruffy girl approached him, her bare feet muddy and her clothes oversized. "I know how to save your wife," she said confidently, catching Ethan off guard. The judgment of his world had always been dictated by money and status, but could this little girl hold the key to a truth he had long overlooked? Stay tuned to discover how a chance encounter could redefine everything he thought he knew about love and family. Ethan Hayes stepped out of the hospital, tears streaming down his face. His wife, CLA, lay in a coma, and he felt utterly helpless. The sterile scent of antiseptic clung to his expensive suit, a stark reminder of the months spent in this cold, impersonal place. He checked his watch again, anxiety gnawing at him as he waited for yet another update on her condition. Dr. Miller approached, her white coat stark against the drab hospital walls. "Mr. Hayes, can we talk?" she asked, her voice heavy with concern. Ethan nodded, bracing himself for the familiar, disheartening news. "There haven't been any significant changes," Dr. Miller said, flipping through CLA's chart. "Her vital signs are stable, but brain activity remains minimal." "What about the new treatment I suggested? The specialist from Switzerland?" Ethan's voice was tinged with desperation. Dr. Miller shook her head gently. "We've already discussed this. Even the most advanced experimental treatments don't show promising results for cases like your wife's." Ethan's heart sank. For the first time in his life, he faced a problem his wealth couldn't solve. How much would it cost to bring in that specialist? "I can pay double, triple what he asks," he insisted, a hint of panic creeping into his tone. "It's not a matter of money, Mr. Hayes," she replied softly. He entered the room, his heart heavy. Chloe lay motionless on the bed, her once vibrant face now serene and still. The beeping machines were the only signs of life in the room. Ethan sat down, taking her cold hand in his. For 3 months, he had followed the same routine. Come in, sit, hold her hand, talk about business, and leave. It was as if he were clocking in for a shift, but today felt different. "The doctors are pessimistic," he murmured, looking at CLA's still face. "They say there isn't much else that can be done." He struggled to find the right words. In the boardroom, he could command attention, but in this room, he felt lost. "I'm tired, CLA." A nurse knocked and entered, breaking the moment. "Mr. Hayes, I need to check her vitals." "Of course," he replied, standing up. "Are you leaving already?" the nurse asked, noticing him pick up his coat. "Yes, I have an important meeting," he lied, the words slipping out automatically. In truth, there was no meeting. For the first time since the accident, Ethan left the hospital without a plan to return. As he stepped into the night, the weight of defeat bore down on him. The city lights reflected in the puddles, shimmering like distant stars. He loosened his tie, feeling suffocated not just by the fabric, but by everything he had built. What was it all worth now? "Sir," a small voice broke through the city noise. Ethan looked down to see a little girl, no more than 5, wearing oversized clothes that hung loosely on her thin frame. Her bare feet were muddy. "I don't need money," she said, reaching out to touch his coat sleeve. "I know how to save your wife." Ethan froze, wallet in hand, unsure if he was being scammed. "What? My wife? The one who's asleep in there?" The girl smiled, a strange, confident smile for someone so small. She has a lovely smile, a smile that starts on the right corner and spreads like she's about to tell a secret. Ethan's heart raced. That was exactly how Claw smiled. He had always found that enchanting, an intimate detail he had never shared with anyone. "Who are you?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. "My name is Lily," she said, extending her dirty hand in a formal handshake. "And I can help you if you trust me." He hesitated, looking down at her outstretched hand. Any other day, he would have turned away, but today was different. Today, he felt like he had given up on CLA. "My name is Ethan," he said, shaking her tiny hand. In that moment, something shifted in the night air. as if the universe itself acknowledged the beginning of something important. "You need to come with me," Lily said, tugging gently at his coat sleeve. "Please." Ethan looked down at the barefoot girl, then at his car parked nearby, and then back at the hospital behind him. The drizzle was turning into a heavier rain. "I can take you to a shelter or call social services," he offered, feeling uneasy. "No social services," she recoiled, as if he had shocked her. "They'll send me back." "Back where?" "To the place I'm going to show you," she answered. "You'll understand when we get there. It's about your wife." Ethan hesitated. Part of him wanted to get in his car, go home, have a drink, and forget this day. But another part, the part that wasn't ready to give up on CLA, wanted to believe this strange child who knew things she shouldn't know. "And if I don't go?" he asked. Lily shrugged, a strangely adult gesture for someone so small. "Then your wife will keep sleeping." Ethan sighed deeply. "All right, we'll go by car." "No," Lily insisted. "We have to walk." "But it's raining and you're barefoot." "I'm used to it," she replied simply, and before he could protest again, Lily had already started walking away. Ethan looked up at the sky, feeling the rain on his face, and followed her. They left the well-lit area around the hospital and entered streets he had never walked through before. The tall buildings gave way to modest houses, which in turn gave way to run-down structures. The smell of cheap food and uncollected trash hit his nostrils. "Do you live around here?" Ethan asked, trying to avoid stepping in puddles. "I live everywhere," Lily replied, "and nowhere." As they walked on, Ethan felt eyes following them from the shadows. His expensive suit and Italian shoes marked him as an outsider in this environment. Instinctively, he reached for his wallet. "No one's going to rob you," Lily said, noticing his gesture. "Not when they see me with you. They know you. Everybody knows everybody here." After about 20 minutes, they stopped in front of a large Victorian building that had once been majestic, but now had broken windows and graffiti covering its facade. A crooked iron gate stood ajar, and a faded sign was still visible, St. Hope Orphanage. "This is it," Lily announced. "An abandoned orphanage? What does that have to do with CLA?" Lily didn't answer. She simply pushed open the gate and walked in. Ethan, now completely soaked by the rain, reluctantly followed her. The inside of the building was a bizarre contrast between ruin and life. Cracked walls and broken floors mingled with children's drawings taped here and there. Some rooms still had furniture, as if the place had been abandoned in a hurry. "Does anyone still live here?" Ethan asked, his voice echoing through the empty corridors. "Just ghosts," Lily answered, "and me sometimes." She led him to what looked like it had once been a recreation room. A mural covered one wall, full of children's drawings and magazine clippings. Lily pointed to one drawing in particular. That one was done by her. Ethan approached it. It was a simple drawing of a smiling sun, a green field, and 3 stick figures, a man, a woman, and a child. In the lower corner was an unmistakable signature, with love, CLA. "My wife," Ethan murmured, touching the drawing with his fingertips. "She was here twice a week," said a voice behind them. Ethan turned to see an elderly woman standing in the doorway. Her gray hair was tied in a messy bun, and she leaned on a cane. "Mrs. Martha," Lily exclaimed, running to hug the woman. "My angel," the older woman said, stroking Lily's wet hair. "You disappeared again." "I brought Mr. Hayes," Lily explained, pointing to Ethan. "He's Mrs. Clare's husband." Mrs. Martha looked him up and down. "So you're the famous Ethan Hayes. Clay used to talk about you?" "Who are you?" Ethan asked, confused. "And how do you know my wife?" "I was the administrator of this orphanage for 30 years, she replied, until the funding ran out and we had to close. CLA showed up one day wanting to volunteer. She said she needed something meaningful in her life. Ethan felt as though he had been punched. Cla had never mentioned an orphanage, volunteer work, or children. She never told him about this. "She tried," Mrs. Martha said gently, "many times. She invited you to come, but you were always busy. One day, she brought your picture to show the children." Lily memorized your face, Ethan thought, looking at Lily, who was now rummaging through a box of broken toys in the corner of the room. Why didn't she tell me how important it was to her? Mrs. Martha sighed. CLA believed you'd figure it out on your own when you were ready to see beyond your world. They went to a small kitchen in the back of the building where Mrs. Martha still kept a few supplies while she made tea. Lily sat down next to Ethan at an old table, its surface worn by time. I was born here, Lily said suddenly, or at least someone left me here when I was a baby. I never knew who my parents were. Mrs. Martha added, serving tea in chipped mugs. She was left at the door wrapped in a blue blanket. No note, no nothing. Lily continued. Mrs. Martha took care of me. She took care of all of us. We were a family. What happened to the other children? Ethan asked. When the orphanage closed, they were placed in other institutions, Mrs. Martha replied, sitting down with difficulty. I tried to keep in touch, but, well, bureaucracy isn't kind to the old and poor. And Lily, she was signed to a temporary home but ran away the night before the transfer. Mrs. Martha sighed. I was admitted to the hospital soon after due to a stroke and was away for weeks. When I came back, Lily had disappeared for good, until now. I didn't want to go, Lily said with a shrug. I didn't want to be away from the only family I've known. Right after that, I had a stroke, Mrs. Martha continued. I was hospitalized for weeks. When I returned, Lily was long gone. I've come here every day hoping to find her, Mrs. Martha said, her gaze filled with longing. Ethan looked at the child in front of him, so small, so fragile, yet so strong, living on the streets, sleeping in abandoned buildings, running from the police and social services. And despite all that, worrying about a stranger in a coma. Clock came every week, Lily said, stirring her tea. She read us stories, brought snacks, taught us to draw. When Mrs. Martha got sick, she cried a lot. That was the last time I saw her. Mrs. Martha said she promised she would try to help somehow, so she convinced her husband to do something. And then I learned about the accident on the news. Ethan felt tears forming in his eyes. CLA had tried to share this part of her life with him, and he had been too busy to notice. I could have helped, he murmured. I could have done something. You still can, Lily said, touching his hand. That's why I brought you here, to show you the CLA I knew. She once told me you had a good heart, but you just needed to remember where you put it. Something inside Ethan broke at that moment. It wasn't just guilt or regret, but a growing certainty that he needed to protect this child, not just for CLA, but for himself. I'm going to help you, he said at last. I'll do whatever it takes. Lily's smile lit up the dark kitchen, and for an instant, Ethan saw a resemblance to CLA's smile. Not in form, but in purity. For the first time in months, he felt hope. The rain had stopped when Ethan and Lily left the orphanage. Mrs. Martha insisted the girl stay with her, but Lily was resolute. I need to help Mr. Ethan, the girl said with a stubbornness only children can display. On the way back, Ethan called his driver. He couldn't let Lily walk barefoot through those wet streets again. When the luxurious black car pulled up to the curb, Lily hesitated. I've never ridden in a car like this, she admitted. There's a first time for everything, Ethan replied, opening the door for her. The girl got in carefully, as if she were afraid of breaking something. Her dirty feet contrasted with the immaculate leather seats. You can relax, he said. It's just a car. It's the nicest car I've ever seen, she replied, still tense. Where to, sir? Asked the driver. Ethan hesitated. His penthouse apartment didn't seem suitable for a child, especially one who had been living on the streets. But he couldn't just abandon her. Home, James, he finally answered. During the ride, he watched Lily pressing her face against the window, enchanted by the city lights. Her eyes sparkled at each new building, each brightly lit shop window. For him, this urban landscape was just the usual route home. For her, it was a world of wonders. Claw would react like that whenever she saw something beautiful, Ethan commented almost to himself. Lily turned to him. She showed me a photo of the place you went on your honeymoon, a beach with very blue water. You refused to take off your shoes and walk in the sand. Ethan felt a lump in his throat. That trip to the Maldives, Claude had begged for those few days of rest, while he had spent half of it on the phone, closing deals. There was too much sand, he replied, trying to sound casual. I'm not a big fan of the beach. Mrs. CLA said you didn't like it because you didn't know how to enjoy it, Lily said. She said you were always in too much of a rush to feel the good things. Lily's words hit him like a punch. So Clea really saw him that way. Someone incapable of appreciating the simple things in life. They arrived at Ethan's building, one of the most exclusive in the city. The doorman's eyes widened at the sight of the ragged little girl, but a stern look from Ethan was enough to stop any questions. In the elevator, Lily was fascinated by the illuminated buttons. Do people live on all these floors? Yes, Ethan replied, but only one family per floor. Their big apartments are bigger than the orphanage. Some of them? Maybe. Lily shook her head as if the idea was incomprehensible. When they entered Ethan's apartment, the girl's reaction was absolute astonishment. The place was huge, with floor-to-ceiling windows offering a panoramic view of the city. The decor was minimalist and expensive, featuring designer furniture and contemporary artwork on the walls. You live here by yourself? Lily asked, standing at the entrance, as though afraid to step forward. Now I do, Ethan replied. Claude and I used to live here together. Lily walked around the apartment, looking at everything with curiosity but not touching anything. She stopped in front of a framed photo of Ethan and CLA on their wedding day. He looked as serious as ever in his immaculate tuxedo. She was radiant in his simple dress, with that smile that started on the right corner of her lips. Was she happy here? Lily asked, still gazing at the photo. The question caught Ethan off guard. Was CLA happy? He had always assumed so. After all, he had given her everything money could buy. But now, after discovering the orphanage, he wasn't sure anymore. I think so, he answered uncertainly. At least at first. Lily turned to him with a penetrating look that seemed far older than her 5 years. Mrs. CLA told me you once danced in the rain the day you got engaged. Ethan blinked, surprised. She told you that? She said it was the only time she really saw you laugh without caring about anything. No watch, no phone, just the two of you. The memory came rushing back, a walk in the park that turned into a dash for shelter from a sudden rain. Claude pulling him out from under the awning, spinning with her arms open, daring him to join her. And he, in a rare moment of abandon, had said yes. They had danced awkwardly, soaking wet, both laughing like children. He had asked Claude to marry him right then, seeing her with raindrops on her lashes and that irresistible smile. Have you forgotten how to dance in the rain? The innocent question carried a weight that rendered him momentarily speechless. Yes, he had forgotten. He had forgotten so many things. We need some clothes for you, he said, changing the subject, and a warm bath later. After a startled housekeeper provided clean clothes and prepared a room for Lily, Ethan sat alone in the living room with an untouched drink in his hand. In the guest room, Lily slept soundly, exhausted after her first hot bath in weeks. Ethan picked up his phone and scrolled through the photos. There were few of him in CLA. Usually, he was the one taking the pictures or they were at events with other people. But there was one that always intrigued him, Class sitting on the windowsill of this same apartment, watching the rainfall. She hadn't known he was taking the photo. Her profile was serene, almost melancholic. What had she been thinking at that moment? Was she remembering their dance in the rain? Was she wishing he were different? Ethan went over to the window and looked out at the city. For years, this view had represented achievement, each building a landmark of success, each light a reminder of the empire he had built. But now, for the first time, he felt small in its vastness and alone, terribly alone. The following days introduced an entirely new routine for Ethan. Lily woke up early and found him already working in his office. He tried to stick to his normal schedule, but the presence of the girl changed everything. Why do you work so much? She asked on the morning of the third day, watching him answer emails. It's what I do, he replied. It's how I get the things I have. But you already have so many things, Lily said with a child's simple logic. Why do you need more? Ethan had no answer. He had never questioned his work ethic or ambition. He always wanted more money, more power, more success. But why? Let's go out for a bit, he suggested, closing his laptop. He was surprised to realize he couldn't remember the last time he had taken a morning off just because he wanted to. He took Lily to a department store and bought her decent clothes. The girl was overwhelmed by all the options. While she tried on colorful dresses, Ethan realized he was smiling, a genuine smile he hadn't worn in months. Do you like this one? He asked when she stepped out of the dressing room in a blue dress. It's too pretty for me, Lily replied, running her hands over the delicate fabric. Nothing is too pretty for you, Ethan said, surprised by the sincerity in his own voice. After shopping, they strolled through the park. It was a weekday, and most people were at work. Under normal circumstances, Ethan would have been in important meetings, closing deals. Instead, he was watching Lily feed ducks in the pond. Mrs. CLA liked coming here, Lily said, tossing bits of bread to the eager ducks. She said you used to have picnics here early in our relationship. Ethan confirmed, then we got too busy. Too busy for picnics? The question was innocent, but loaded with meaning. Ethan sat down on a nearby bench. I guess so. I was building my company, and I think she tried to keep up with my pace for a while, until she found the orphanage. Maybe Ethan looked up at the partly cloudy sky. I never asked what drew her there. I always thought her charitable activities were just hobbies. Lily joined him on the bench, her feet barely touching the ground. Helping people made her feel truly useful. She wanted more than charity galas and magazine photos. Ethan felt the weight of those words. CLA had tried to explain that to him countless times, but he never really listened. He had always praised her charity work, but deep down saw it as a socialite pastime, nothing truly serious. She wanted to have children, Ethan murmured, recalling another conversation they had brushed aside. I always said it wasn't the right time. Lily looked at him with those penetrating eyes again. When was the right time? The question went unanswered. Ethan realized he had postponed the idea of having kids not because of a lack of time or money, but because he was scared of not knowing how to be a father, of not balancing work and family, of disappointing a child the way he had disappointed CLA. Let's get some ice cream, Lily suggested suddenly, jumping off the bench. Now, before lunch. Why not? Her smile was contagious. Mrs. CLA said rules exist to be broken once in a while. Contrary to his methodical nature, Ethan agreed. They walked to a small ice cream shop where Lily ordered the biggest sundae on the menu. Ethan only asked for coffee. Aren't you going to have ice cream? Lily asked, already with chocolate at the corner of her mouth. I'm not much of a sweets person, he replied. Never really. Lily pushed the sundae toward him. Try it. It's the best ice cream in the world. Reluctantly, Ethan took a small spoonful. The sweet flavor burst in his mouth, awakening childhood memories of hot summers and laughter. Simplicity. When was the last time he had let himself enjoy something so simple without worrying about calories or meetings? It is, Ethan admitted, taking another spoonful. It's really good. They returned home in the late afternoon. As Ethan made Lily a snack in the kitchen, a first for him, he received a call from his assistant, reminding him of an important meeting he had missed. You should have told me earlier, Ethan replied, irritated. Reschedule for next week. But sir, it's about the acquisition. I said reschedule. Ethan hung up, surprised at his own decision. When he walked into the living room with the sandwiches, he found Lily gazing at the framed picture of him and Clinton. You both look different in the photos, she observed. Different how? You look more serious and Mrs. Clow looks less bright. The observation was surprisingly perceptive. In the photos, they were always posing, he, the successful businessman, she, the perfect wife, social masks that had over time become more real than their true selves. They sat at the kitchen table to eat, another new habit for Ethan, who usually ate alone or in fancy restaurants with clients. Are you going to visit Mrs. CLA today? Lily asked, chewing her sandwich. Ethan froze. He hadn't returned to the hospital since the day he found Lily. Guilt washed over him like a wave. Yes, he replied. We're going to visit her. Lily's eyes lit up. Can I come too? Of course. Didn't you say you knew how to help her? The girl's smile lit up the kitchen. That was when Ethan realized he had gone the entire day without thinking about business, checking the stock market, or making a single work call. Surprisingly, he didn't feel the usual anxiety or the constant need to be in control. For the first time in years, he was simply living in the moment. And it was all thanks to a little orphan who had appeared in his life like an unlikely angel, reminding him of the man he used to be, the man CLA had fallen in love with. As he watched Lily finish her snack, Ethan made a silent promise to himself and to Flea. If there was any chance, however small, to bring his wife back, he would do everything differently this time. He would start by valuing the little things, which he now realized were the most important of all. A month had passed since Ethan met Lily outside the hospital. A month of transformation, discoveries, and pain. CLA remained in a coma with no sign of improvement, but something had changed, not in her, but in him. In his office, Ethan looked out the window while his lawyers explained the details of his new project. He was no longer the same man obsessed with numbers and deadlines. He listened attentively to every detail, asking questions he would once have dismissed as irrelevant. So it's settled, he concluded, turning to face his team. We'll purchase the property next to St. Hope Orphanage and begin construction immediately. Mr. Hayes, one of the lawyers interjected, adjusting his glasses nervously. I understand your urgency, but perhaps we should consider other locations. That area isn't exactly upscale. That's exactly why it has to be there, Ethan replied firmly. The children are there. We're not going to build another charitable project in a wealthy neighborhood just for sponsors to take pictures at galas. His decisive tone silenced any further arguments. The lawyers exchanged glances, knowing that once Ethan Hayes made a decision, it was best not to oppose him. The CLA Hayes Community Center will open in 6 months, Ethan continued. Not a year, not 8 months, 6 months. I want a team working around the clock if necessary. When everyone left, Ethan remained alone in the office. He took out the drawing Lily had made with CLA, the 3 stick figures representing a family. It was no longer just a childish dream or a lost promise. It was now a plan, a purpose. In recent days, he had understood something fundamental. His love for CLA couldn't be limited to hospital visits and tears of regret. It had to become action, a continuation of what she believed in, what she valued. The intercom beeped, interrupting his thoughts. Mr. Hayes, Lily, and Mrs. Martha are here, announced his secretary. Send them in, he replied, putting the drawing away and straightening his tie. Lily ran in, her eyes bright with excitement. She was no longer the frightened, dirty child he had found weeks ago. She wore a clean blue dress, and her hair was pulled back in a neat ponytail. You said there was a surprise, Lily exclaimed, hopping around Ethan's desk. I do, he said, smiling. But we need to pick up CLA first. Lily's smile wavered for a moment. Did she wake up? The hope in her voice squeezed Ethan's heart. No, sweetie, he said softly. But that doesn't mean she can't come along. The routine at the hospital had become familiar. The head nurse, who used to look at them wearily, now greeted them with a warm smile. They had become part of the scenery, as constant as the medical equipment itself. In the room, Claw remained unmoving, her face as serene as ever. Ethan leaned over and kissed her forehead. Hey, honey, he whispered. I brought Lily and Mrs. Martha. We have a surprise for you. He took a Polaroid camera he had brought and snapped a photo of CLA, then took pictures of Lily, Mrs. Martha, and himself. What are you doing? Lily asked, curious. You'll see, Ethan replied, carefully stashing the photos away. The car stopped in front of a large vacant lot next to St. Hope Orphanage. A huge sign announced the future site of the Claire Hayes Community Center, opening in 6 months. Architects and construction workers were already busy surveying the site. What is this? Lily asked, peering out of the car window, eyes wide. Come see, Ethan said, opening the door and helping Mrs. Martha step out. They walked over to a makeshift table where blueprints and models were laid out. Ethan knelt to meet Lily's gaze. This will be a place for kids like you, he explained. It will have classrooms, a library, medical offices, and a big yard to play in. Kids can come after school to do activities, get help with homework, or just have a safe place to be. Lily's eyes traveled over the models, trying to absorb what she was seeing. And the best part, Ethan continued, is that Mrs. Martha will be the director. She'll help choose the staff and take care of everything. Mrs. Martha pressed her trembling hand against Ethan's arm. I never thought I'd see something like this in my lifetime. Ethan smiled at her. Claude would have insisted on it. No one better than you to continue what she started. He took the photos he had snapped at the hospital out of his pocket and placed them in a small metal box. This is our time capsule, he explained to Lily. We're going to bury it in the building's foundation. That way, CLA will always be here, even when she can't be physically. Lily looked at the photos, then at the drawing Ethan had added to the box. Will Mrs. CLA wake up one day to see this? She asked, her voice small and hopeful. Ethan felt a knot in his throat. He wanted to lie and say yes. It was just a matter of time. But he had promised himself never to live in illusions again. I don't know, Lily, he answered honestly. The doctors say the chances are small, but I do know that awake or not, Claude will be with us through what we build here. He handed Lily a little shovel. Want to help me bury our time capsule together? They dug a small hole near where the center's main entrance would be. Lily placed the box carefully at the bottom of the hole, and with the same seriousness, covered it with soil. When the building is finished, Ethan said, we'll put up a plaque here saying that Claire Hayes is present in every brick, every smile, and every child who walks through these doors. Lily looked at the small mound of dirt, then at the vacant lot around them, and finally at Ethan. Then, like the sun rising after a long winter night, a smile appeared on her face. Not the cautious, guarded smile she sometimes gave, but a genuine one full of hope and possibility. It's like having a piece of her with us all the time, isn't it? Lily asked. Ethan nodded, unable to speak past the emotion tightening his throat. In that moment, he realized this was not a farewell. It was a new beginning. It was the continuation of the story CLA had started, a love story that transcended hospitals, machines, and grim diagnoses. As he watched Lily run around the lot, imagining where the playground would be, Ethan felt a peace he hadn't experienced in a long time. His love for CLA hadn't diminished. It had transformed into something bigger, something that could touch more lives than just his own. This was CLA's true legacy, not the sadness of loss, but the joy of moving forward. And somehow, Ethan knew that wherever she was, she would be smiling. The hospital felt different now. The same white walls, the same sterile corridors, but Ethan saw them with new eyes. For weeks, this place had been an enemy, a prison holding CLA away from him. Now, as he walked with Lily by his side, he realized the true prison had been built by himself, brick by brick, with his indifference and obsession with work. As the days passed, Ethan found himself reflecting on the emotional layers of his journey. While he had made significant strides in understanding the importance of family and love, there remained untapped depths of feeling that could further enrich his connection with both CLA and Lily. He realized that he needed to delve deeper into his emotions and openly express his vulnerabilities, allowing both girls to see the true Ethan, not just the successful businessman, but a man capable of love and compassion. Ethan also recognized that CLA's character could be further fleshed out. Though she was currently in a coma, memories of her vibrant spirit and dedication to helping others could be integrated into the narrative more prominently. Flashbacks illustrating her commitment to the orphanage and her dreams of having a family would provide a richer context for her character and enhance the emotional stakes for Ethan and Lily. By showcasing CLA's past, the audience would gain a deeper appreciation for her influence on Ethan's transformation and the gravity of his journey to honor her legacy. Regarding the narrative structure and pacing, there were areas that could be optimized. For instance, certain transitions between scenes could benefit from additional details that highlight the passage of time and the evolution of Ethan's character. By incorporating small vignettes or everyday experiences, the story would become more dynamic, allowing the audience to witness the gradual changes in Ethan's priorities and relationships. Moreover, the dialogue and descriptive elements could be enhanced to create a more authentic and immersive experience. Adding sensory details to Ethan's interactions with Lily and CLA would help ground the reader in the story's emotional landscape. For example, describing the warmth of CLA's hand as Ethan holds it or the laughter of children at the community center could evoke a stronger sense of connection and nostalgia. In terms of thematic depth and social perspectives, there was room to explore broader issues such as the impact of community support on childhood development and the importance of family and healing. By weaving these elements into narrative, the story could resonate more profoundly with audiences, prompting them to reflect on their own values and relationships. Lastly, both the opening and closing sections of the story could be strengthened. The beginning could benefit from a more gripping introduction that immediately captures the audience's attention, perhaps by showcasing a pivotal moment from Ethan and CLA's past, setting the emotional stakes high from the start. The conclusion, on the other hand, should leave the audience with a resonating message about love, family, and hope, ensuring that the story's emotional journey concludes on a note of fulfillment and possibility. By deepening emotional connections, enriching character backgrounds, optimizing narrative flow, enhancing dialogue, expanding thematic depth, and refining the opening and closing, the story could achieve a greater impact, creating a memorable experience for the audience. First part, opening. Core elements. Ethan's initial despair as he leaves the hospital, grappling with his wife's coma. The introduction of Lily, the street girl who offers hope, and a mysterious connection to CLA. Vivid descriptions of the hospital environment that amplify Ethan's emotional turmoil. Improvement directions. Integrate flashbacks of Ethan and CLA's happy moments to contrast with his current pain. Highlight the sterile and oppressive nature of the hospital to enhance the sense of confinement. Second part, conflict development. Core elements. Dr. Miller's updates on CLA's condition showcasing the limits of medical intervention. The growing bond between Ethan and Lily as they navigate their shared struggles. Ethan's internal conflict regarding his past priorities and his newfound sense of purpose. Improvement directions. Include more of Lily's backstory through small anecdotes that showcase her resilience. Strengthen the portrayal of Ethan's professional conflicts, illustrating his struggle between work and family. Third part, emotional climax. Core elements. The moment CLA awakens, symbolizing the revival of hope and love in Ethan's life. The deepening relationship between Ethan and Lily, reinforcing their emotional connection. Rich depictions of their interactions that enhance the emotional stakes of the narrative. Improvement directions. Add more of Ethan's memories of CLA during her coma to deepen the emotional impact. Illustrate the challenges faced during the community center's development, creating tension and triumph. Fourth part, conclusion. Core elements. The community center's grand opening, celebrating CLA's legacy and the new family unit. Lily's heartfelt speech, encapsulating the themes of love and belonging. The sense of fulfillment and purpose that fills Ethan as he reflects on his journey. Improvement directions. Emphasize the collective joy of the community during the opening, highlighting the impact of their efforts. Conclude with a powerful message about the enduring strength of family and love, ensuring a lasting impression. This outline provides a structured approach to revising the story, ensuring each section retains its emotional core while enhancing the depth and richness of the narrative. As the sun shone brightly on the day of the Claire Hayes Community Center's grand opening, the air was filled with excitement and anticipation. Colorful ribbons and balloons decorated the spacious courtyard where children of all ages ran around, exploring their new playground, library, and tech-equipped classrooms. Parents and guardians mingled in small groups, some visibly moved by the opportunities unfolding before them. Ethan climbed onto a small platform at the center of the courtyard, followed closely by CLA, who still walked with a slight limp but radiated strength and determination. Lily stood by her side, wearing her favorite blue dress, her eyes sparkling with joy. "Good morning, everyone," Ethan began, his voice amplified by the microphone. "Welcome to the official opening of the Claire Hayes Community Center. Enthusiastic applause echoed through the courtyard, filling Ethan with pride and hope. This center was born out of a promise that CLA made long ago, he continued, glancing at her. No child should grow up without opportunities, affection, and hope. What you see today is just the beginning. We plan to replicate this model in other neighborhoods, creating a network of support for children and families who need a second chance. CLA stepped forward, her recovery a testament to her strength and resilience. When I first started volunteering at the old orphanage, she said, gesturing toward the Victorian building next door, I never imagined we'd get here. Every child I met taught me something about courage, resilience, and the human capacity to find joy in the hardest circumstances. As she spoke, her gaze found Lily, who was beaming with pride. One child in particular changed our lives forever. Lily. He not only brought light to our family, but inspired all of this. Usually so outspoken, Lily appeared momentarily at a loss for words. Ethan crouched to her level, gently encouraging her. But do you want to say something? Lily took a deep breath, stepping closer to the microphone. I just wanted to say thank you for finding me and for letting me find you. Her simple words resonated throughout the courtyard, leaving not a dry eye in the crowd. After the formal ceremony concluded, the real celebration began, filled with music, food, and games. Ethan stepped back, taking a moment to absorb the scene before him. He watched as CLA chatted animatedly with Mrs. Martha, while Lily raced around the playground, laughter mingling with that of other children. A profound sense of fulfillment washed over him, so different from the hollow success he once chased. This was not just happiness, it was purpose and belonging. He felt a certainty that he was exactly where he was meant to be. As he stood there, Ethan's phone vibrated in his pocket. It was a message from Victor Reynolds, the chairman who had made the acquisition offer. Your decision was a surprise. Our offer still stands. If you change your mind, London can wait. Ethan smiled slightly, but did not reply. He would not reconsider. The choice had been made, the bond strengthened, and the path set. He walked back toward his family, the wife he had almost lost, and the daughter fate had brought them. As Lily excitedly tugged at his hand, urging him to see what she had discovered, Klaus slipped her arm around Ethan's waist. In that moment, he knew they had finally found the home they had always searched for, not in a place, but in each other. The broken smile had been mended, stronger at the cracks, and brighter for the shadows they had faced together. Together, they stepped into a new chapter of their lives, one filled with connection, purpose, and true love.